ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Varaha Katara Ajuhava Putvetitan Mayataya Tadavo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Abhaktya Vihina Parara Lakshay Kiptaschakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All right, so we're going to continue hearing about this extraordinary pastime of Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis. And we have two things to read from still. We have the Sri Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavi Karnapur, and we have our Srila Prabhupada's Krsna book. Now, I kind of reviewed the Ananda Vrindavan Champu, because I haven't looked at it for about a year, and it's very long and very detailed. So I think I'm going to save that. And we've already read Gopal Champu and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary on the Slimed Bhagavatam. So I think it'd be very interesting to hear how Srila Prabhupada introduces this most esoteric topic, right, to people who are, I have to say, largely unqualified. We can say now, after many, many years, that we have some qualification, but Krsna book, we were distributing this everywhere. Well, I mean, we didn't understand it ourselves, and we were giving it out to brand new people in college dormitories, on the streets of major cities, and, basically they were attracted by our enthusiasm, by the beautiful pictures, that was very big, by the little introduction, signed introduction by George Harrison, and of course by the mercy of Lord Nityananda coming through everyone by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So the amazing thing is that anyone who hears these pastimes, because this is the natural inclination, destiny, you could say, of the soul, anyone who hears this without offense, and most people are innocent, incredible awakening begins. Sometimes it's described as samskaras, devotional impressions are planted, but that means that the natural quality of devotion is being awakened within the heart of the soul. And so Srila Prabhupada very carefully presented these pastimes without, not changing them or diminishing them in any way, but putting them in such a way that people could begin to grasp and understand. And for those that do have more understanding, you could read the same thing and get much more out of it. I was just listening to the Bhakti Rasayan, a series of lectures given by Srila Bhaktivedanta and Goswami Maharaj on the verses that Sanatana Goswami included at the end of the Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Very special selected verses. And Srila Narayana Maharaj was saying that with those verses, including those verses, Srila Sanatana Goswami intent was, by hearing these verses, anyone who hears them, reads them, studies them, this awakening will come, right? It will come. It must come. This is the design of the Lord. Sadyo hridya varudhyate kirtibi shushushabis takshanat. Anyone who hears this Srimad Bhagavatam, it becomes established in the heart, the Lord claims them, and bhakti begins. For those who are nirmat saranam satam, they will immediately develop high levels of spiritual emotion, right? And for those who have different levels of qualification, they will understand and awaken according to that. And he also said in that lecture, Srila Narayan Maharaj, that one who's on the Kanishta level, he'll see it in one way. And Kanishta has many gradations also, right? There are 3 major gradations of every one of these stages, right? Kanishta, Kanishta, Kanishta Madhyam, Kanishta Uttam, and the same with Madhyam and Uttam. But actually Srila Narayan Maharaj said there are millions of gradations, right? So as we practice and gradually awaken our inclination, our understanding will increase as well. So listen how beautifully Srila Prabhupada presents this. This is chapter 22 of the Krsna book, Stealing the Garments of the Unmarried Gopi Girls. So, according to Vedic civilization, unmarried girls from 10 to 14 years of age are supposed to worship either Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga in order to get a nice husband. Now, in this case, in the Bhagavatam, it's described that they were much younger, right? Because Krishna himself was only 7 or 8 years old, and these girls were all his age or younger. But Srila Prabhupada is presenting this, his statement is absolutely correct, because the gopis weren't yet married. But marriage also, it doesn't mean that you're living with the family of your husband. Sometimes girls were married at younger ages, but they continued to live in the house of the parents until they reached a suitable age where they could enter into the household of the father and mother-in-law and their husband and engage in activities like cooking and cleaning and everything else, and also having children. Okay, so 10 to 14 years. Srila Prabhupada's sister was married at a very young age. And this is also for the protection of young girls as well, because done properly, this is meant to save women and men from the tendency to go towards unrestricted illicit connection, right? Marry one girl, one boy, and because the connection is established formally, social rituals are performed, religious rituals. They're bound and connected by those and also by the support of both families and the greater society, the village, etc. Right? So don't, try to criticize the marriage arrangements of the Vedic culture and comparing them to our modern culture. Modern culture has nothing to brag about because nowadays marriage is a very difficult and unfortunate condition where you have a divorce rate of 60 to 65%, and people marry again, and that divorce rate is even higher, and again. So, this was meant for, a culture that understood the actual purpose of marriage, a partnership for mutual protection on the social level, but also for cultivating spiritual values as well. So, he says that according to Vedic civilization, unmarried girls from 10 to 14 years of age are supposed to worship either Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga in order to get a nice husband. Now, that's what he says. But the unmarried girls of Vrindavan were already attracted by the beauty of Krishna. They were, however, engaged in the worship of Goddess Durga in the beginning of the Hemant season, just prior to the winter season. So they weren't married, but they were already attracted to somebody. Nothing had been arranged for them yet. The first month of Hemant is Agrahayana, generally October, November. And at that time, all the unmarried gopis of Vrindavan began to worship goddess Durga with a vow. They first ate havishan, a kind of food prepared by boiling together mung dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. It's also medicinal. It's very good for breaking fast, balancing the doses in the body. Right? So it's not just ritualistic. It prepares and aligns the body and removes the disturbances of the body so that the mind becomes more peaceful as well. So, all the unmarried gopis in Vrindavan used to daily worship goddess Katyayani early in the morning after taking a bath in the river Jamuna. Katyayani is another name for goddess Durga. The goddess is worshipped by preparing a dal made of sand from the bank of the Jamuna. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that a deity may be made from different kinds of material elements. It can be painted, made of metal, made of jewels, made of wood, earth, or stone, or can be conceived within the heart of the worshiper. That's a very high-level devotee who worships within the heart. Generally, those on Kanishta level, Krishna appears in these other forms to allow us to do tangible worship with all of our senses and to easily focus. Worshipping within the mind is a much higher level. I mean, we can do it to some extent. We're hearing verses, we're hearing stories, we're remembering them while we're chanting. But this within the heart, to perceive the Lord within the heart, one is generally on the level of bhav, right? The Mayavadi philosophers takes all these forms of the deity to be imaginary, but actually they are accepted in the Vedic literatures to be identical with either the Supreme Lord or a respective demigod. So he throws in a little knock at the Mayavads, right? Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachardane Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatadine. You are the dedicated, beloved disciple and follower of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Prabhupada. You are preaching the pure message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the complete message. And you have come to eradicate impersonalism and voidism. So he's always doing that. The jungle of impersonalism. As long as impersonalism is there, contaminating, infecting our conceptions, it's very difficult to cultivate bhakti properly. So, the unmarried gopis used to prepare the deity of goddess Durga and worship it with chandan pulp, garlands, incense, lamps, and all kinds of presentations, fruits, grain, and twigs of plants. After worshiping, it is the custom to pray for some benediction. The unmarried girls used to pray with great devotion to goddess Katyayani. And remember, it was in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that they could detect the personal presence of the deity of goddess Katyayani in that form, because their hearts were so pure, right? So now he's giving the prayer. O supreme external energy of the personality of Godhead, right? Devi Krishna Mahamaye, right? Remember that prayer. O supreme mystic power, O supreme controller of this material world, O goddess, please be kind to us and arrange for our marriage with the son of Nanda Maharaj Krishna. The Vaishnavas generally do not worship any demigods. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has strictly forbidden all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet the gopis, who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna, were seen to worship Durga. Now he's addressing the idea that they're praying to Mahamaya, right? And yet, the whole Bhagavatam is, completely free of any worship of demigods or any material consideration or aspiration. So why is this that they appear to be doing this? And Srila Prabhupada is addressing this directly. The worshippers of demigods sometimes mention that the Gopis worshipped Goddess Durga, but we must understand the purpose of the Gopis. Generally, people worship Goddess Durga for some material benediction. Here, the Gopis prayed to the goddess to become wives of Lord Krishna. The purport is that if Krishna is the center of activity, a devotee can adopt any means to achieve that goal. The Gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellent characteristic of the Gopis. They worshipped Goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. Every day they prayed for Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, to become their husband. Right, there's a verse, Krishna Smadam, no, not that. What is it? Always remember Krishna, never forget him. This is the highest injunction of the Vedic literature. All rules and regulations follow that. What is it? Smartana, Tato Vishnor, Vishnu Smarta, how does it? Yeah, Najatu Chit, right. And got to preach so that these verses stay in your mind, right? Haven't thought of this verse in a long time. So, right, and so in this case, it appears that the Gopis are worshiping Mahamaya, but we also heard in previous commentary that that the Gopis have no connection with Mahamaya in reality because they're in the eternal Vrindavan, right? And so their prayer is because of their Narvat Leela. They have the self-conception of being ordinary village girls, so they're praying. But they also use the word Durga. And Durga, there are two Durgas. There's Yogamaya Durga and there's Mahamaya Durga, right? So whether they were thinking Mahamaya or not, their intention is purely to get this absolutely perfect goal. And so Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya, and she actually helps to fulfill the goals of devotees who are seeking pure Krishna consciousness. And so even in our conditioned state, Mahamaya will also help us. How? By lifting, this is described in Madhurya Kadambini, by lifting the chains of Tamagun and Rajagun and gradually allowing us to be inspired by Sattva-gun, material Sattva, but which can be very, very helpful in our practice, in cultivation of knowledge, in freedom from anarthas. And from there, pure internal bhakti will come. So she's the assistant to Yogamaya. So early in the morning, the Gopis used to go to the bank of the Jamuna to take a bath. They would assemble together and, holding one another's hands, loudly sing of the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take a bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and women bathe was strictly prohibited to any male and is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, blessed them with their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. So this is very ingenious how Srila Prabhupada weaves the verses and the commentaries of our acharyas into this beautiful narrative, the way he describes it, right? At the end of the month, Krishna, along with his friends, appeared on the scene. Another name of Krishna is Yogeshvara, or master of all mystic powers. This is also in one of the shlokas, right? By practicing meditation, the yogi can study the psychic movement of other men, and certainly Krishna could understand the desire of the gopis. So he's saying that even a yogi endowed with mystic siddhis or perfection has the power to understand the minds of people of this world. They can read and understand them. So Krishna is Yogeshvara, the master of all mystic power and the greatest of all yogis, powers beyond the material, complete mystic spiritual power. So the hearts of his pure devotees, he understands, he's been hearing them for this month, their intense desire, which has been growing and growing. So Krishna could understand the desire of the gopis. Appearing on the scene, Krishna immediately collected all the garments of the gopis, climbed up onto a nearby tree, and with a smiling face began to speak to them. My dear girls, he said, please come here one after another and pray for your garments and then take them away. I am not joking with you, I am telling the truth. I have no desire to play any joke with you, for you are tired from observing the regulative principles for 1 month by worshiping Goddess Katyayani. Please do not come here all at once. Come alone. I want to see each of you in your complete beauty, for you all have thin waists. I have requested you to come alone. Now please comply. So when we hear Srila Prabhupada's translation, it immediately invokes remembrance of all these verses that we heard and the detailed description expanded. It's not so expanded in the Bhagavatam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur expands the dialogue. Jiva Goswami expands the dialogue. Srila Prabhupada is extracting that nectar and giving it to everyone in a very sweet way. I know what you've wanted. You've prayed to the goddess. Now come here. I'm going to fulfill your desire. So when the girls in the water heard such joking words from Krishna, they began to look at one another and smile. They were very joyous to hear such a request from Krishna because they were already in love with him. Out of shyness, they looked at one another, but they could not come out of the water because they were naked. Due to remaining in the water for a long time, they felt cold and were shivering. Yet, upon hearing the pleasing, joking words of Govinda, their minds were perturbed with great joy. So he introduces, they were shivering from the cold, but also their emotions of spiritual joy. How sweetly and nicely he describes this to us. The pleasing words, joking words of Govinda, nothing gross about this, nothing mundane. Pleasing spiritually, because the gopis are completely pure. Only only expressions of pure love coming from Krishna are capable of pleasing them. So they're very happy, but they're very shy. So they told Krishna, "Dear son of Nanda Maharaj, please do not joke with us in this way. It is completely unjust to us. You are a very respectable boy because you are the son of Nanda Maharaj, and you are very dear to us. But you should not play this joke on us, because now we are all shivering from the cold water. Kindly deliver our garments immediately, otherwise we shall suffer." Exactly as the Bhagavatam was stating. Right? We're your servants, so please give us the cloth. Don't make it difficult. We're suffering. You should not make us feel like this. Very sweet appeal, right? They then began to appeal to Krishna with great submission. "Dear Shyamasundar," they said, "we are all your eternal servitors. Whatever you order us to do, we are obliged to perform without hesitation, because we consider it our religious duty. But if you insist on putting this proposal to us, which is impossible to perform, then certainly we will have to go to Nanda Maharaj and lodge a complaint against you. If Nanda Maharaj doesn't take any action, then we shall tell King Kamsa about your misbehavior. Flattery, appeal to your higher nature, and then some threat, right? Some other form. Sama, beta. Upon hearing this appeal by the unmarried gopis, Krishna answered, "My dear girls, if you think that you are my eternal servitors, and you are always ready to execute my order, then my request is that with your smiling faces, you please come here alone, one after another, and take away your garments. If you do not come here, however, and if you lodge a complaint with my father, I shall not care anyway, for I know my father is old and cannot take any action against me." Cheeky Krishna. So sweet. When the gopis saw that Krishna was strong and determined, they had no alternative but to abide by his order. One after another they came out of the water, but because they were completely naked, they tried to cover their nakedness by placing their left hand over their pubic area. In that posture, they were all shivering. Their simple presentation was so pure that Lord Krishna immediately became pleased with them. They obeyed his order, but still they were so sweet and shy. Krishna became even more happy and pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked by any male except her husband. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. He's presenting this idea, and that they recognized his joking and his demand were all a form of acceptance, right? Had nothing to do with mundane lust or desire. Being pleased with them, he took their garments on his shoulder and began to speak as follows. "My dear girls, you have committed a great offense by going naked in the river Jamuna. Because of this, the predominating deity of the Jamuna, Varunadev, has become displeased with you. Please, therefore, touch your foreheads with folded palms and bow down before the demigod Varuna in order to be excused from this offensive act." The gopis were all simple souls, and whatever Krishna said they took to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varunadev, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their vows, and ultimately to please their worshipable Lord, Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors. He describes it very nicely without going into any graphic detail, which might be understood in different ways, right, by materialistic people, new kind of people. But the beauty and sweetness of the pastime is there. The samskaras are completely powerful, entering the heart. And the understanding that the gopis had to surrender completely, even their shyness and everything, but by doing that, they became the greatest servitors. Krishna was actually fulfilling their desire by setting up this Leela. Right? Nothing can compare with the Krishna consciousness of the gopis. He's making that point. Actually, the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. Krishna became very ingratiated and satisfied by the simple dealings of the gopis, and he immediately delivered their respective garments, one after another. Although Krishna cheated the young unmarried gopis and made them stand naked before him and enjoyed joking words with them, and although he treated them just like dolls and stole their garments, they were still pleased with him and never lodged any complaints against him. This attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, "My dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, or you may make me brokenhearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do." because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object. This is the attitude of the Gopis towards Krishna. So also now revealing the pastimes which support the inner mood of Mahaprabhu's Sikshastakam, right? Lord Krishna was pleased with them. And since they all desired to have him as their husband, he told them, my dear well-behaved girls. Now, you're well-behaved. You've not done anything wrong here. You have actually behaved in the highest way, because without consideration, you've surrendered to my desire. Right? I know of your desire for me and why you worship Goddess Katyayani, and I completely approve of your action. Anyone whose full consciousness is always absorbed in me, even if in lust, is elevated. As a fried seed cannot fructify, so any desire in connection with my loving service cannot produce any fruit of result as in ordinary karma. Right. So there's nothing shameful, inappropriate, or sinful about what you have done or anything that you do. You are completely spotless in every way. There is a statement in the Brahma Samhita, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Everyone is bound by his fruit of activities, but the devotees, because they work completely for the satisfaction of the Lord, suffer no reactions. Similarly, the gopis' attitude toward Krishna, although seemingly lusty, should not be considered to be like the lusty desires of ordinary women. The reason is explained by Krishna himself. Activities in devotional service to Krishna are transcendental to any fruit of result. Very important, driving that point home. My dear gopis, Krishna continued, your desire to have me as your husband will be fulfilled, because it is with this desire that you worshipped Goddess Katyayani. I promise you that during the next autumn season, you shall be able to meet with me, and you shall enjoy me as your husband. Right? So when the Sarad season comes, like now it's October, November, right? So a few months, talking August. So 9-10 months, their love will be building and building and building. Later, Krishna, in the company of his cowherd boyfriends, took shelter of the shade of some trees and became very happy. So this is the next section of that chapter, but this is the introduction for pastime with the wives of the mature brahmanas, the mature ramanis, right? And this is actually happening in the summer. Right. So it's in that same chapter. It's connected to this chapter because the same intent is going to be expressed by these wives of the brahmanas, but it's going to be a different pastime and a different kind of result, right? But it's told in this sequence by Shukadev Goswami because he is illuminating something distinguishing between the love of these Brajadevis, these gopis, and those who are very close to that, but not quite. Not quite. So we'll stop there, and tomorrow we'll begin reading from the Ananda Vrindavan Champu. And I was holding off on that because the details of the gopis' worship is extraordinary, all that they do. And then the pastime and the interaction, everything is very detailed. And also there are poetic elements and descriptions which are so extraordinary. So it's good that we save that one for last. Right? Okay. So offering obeisance to our dear Srila Prabhupada, our dear Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and to all of our Guru Varga and the assembled devotees, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.